Good morning, Powers Resource Center colleagues and clients. I'm Tara Powers, CEO of Powers Resource Center, and today's culture of collaboration tip is around giving feedback. And the reason I chose this as our topic this week is because I'm working with a lot of executive teams right now, 2 teams, and one of the things that I've noticed over the last 20 years in my career is even at the executive level, people are not skilled at giving feedback. And lack of feedback is actually causing distrust, especially when we're now remote. Many people are still remote. And so we have to get better and certainly more comfortable at delivering feedback and also receiving it. And one of the things I just coached some leaders on recently was when we are too nervous or fearful of delivering critical feedback, unfortunately, we are holding someone back from their fullest potential. It actually is not fair for them if they're not getting any feedback. And if you think about anyone who is excelling as an athlete, right, as a movie star, as a singer, they're constantly getting coached and constantly getting feedback. That is the only way that we improve. So I want you to maybe think about a shift in your mindset that if you are nervous or it makes you really scared to give feedback, you're actually holding back someone's full potential. And maybe if you think about it that way, it might shift your position on giving critical feedback to help someone do better. And that's really what the intention is, right? When we give and deliver effective feedback, it's because hopefully we're coming from a place of care and we really want to see that person succeed. And it also usually will help you, right? Because you're going to get what you need. So I want to go over 2 things today. Number 1 is a feedback process I have used for 20 years. I've coached managers and teams on this process. I've had people send me emails that it works. I know it works. We've perfected it over time. It's very simple. And then the second thing I want to talk about is the mindset that you need to have when you deliver feedback. And that comes from Brene Brown. And you may not know this, but I'm a certified Dare to Lead facilitator. And so we talk a lot about the idea of being able to give and receive feedback. Very important. It does require us to be vulnerable, and vulnerability is where all the magic is. That's where we build trust. So the first thing we're going to go over is what you see on your screen here. And this is 5 steps that remote teams can use to deliver feedback. And again, it's coming from that win-win mindset of I am a collaborative partner in your growth and development. That's how we need to think about it. So when we think about that, the first thing that you want to be doing when you give feedback is really thinking about the behavior, the situation, what happened that is requiring the feedback to take place. And what I want you to think about is how can I state it with the most facts possible? I don't want to state how I feel about it. I don't want to state it made me angry or here's what I think you were thinking about me. Basically, I'm going to get right to the facts of the situation. So for example, if I noticed on a remote team meeting last week that Dan was rolling his eyes when I was giving some ideas of what I thought we could do to solve a problem, and he laughed a couple times and chuckled and then basically got silent for the rest of the call and never offered any opinions or ideas or didn't say he liked it or didn't like it. When I follow up with Dan to give him feedback, I'm going to state those exact facts. Hey, on our call yesterday, I noticed that when I talked about problem XYZ and how I think we could solve it, you actually rolled your eyes, you chuckled a few times like you were frustrated or annoyed, and I noticed that you then shut down and didn't actually offer any insights for the rest of the call. Those are the facts, right? I didn't add how I felt about it. I didn't add any assumptions that I made. I didn't add anything that I think about Dan in that moment. I just stated the facts. That's step 1. Step 2, we move on to sharing the impact with our team member. And so, for example, if I was giving that feedback to Dan, the next thing I would say is, when you did that on the call last week, I actually felt like you were very frustrated about what I was recommending, and that you weren't really open to hearing what I had to say. And it made me feel pretty self-conscious about continuing to move forward with my idea. I also noticed that a lot of other people didn't share any ideas after that as well. So it kind of shut down the whole team. That's the impact, right? And I might even take it a step further and say, when we have our team meetings, if we're not all able to share our ideas, we're going to quickly break down the cohesion and collaboration that I know is so important to us, right? I might continue to share that impact. That's step 2. Step 3, I'm going to ask Dan about what was his intention when he did those things. So what was going on for you? What was your intention? Were you frustrated? Help me understand what was happening, right? So I'm actually now giving Dan the opportunity to take ownership of his behavior or action and explain to me why that was going on. So it basically puts some accountability in their court, which I think is really important. So it gives them an opportunity to discuss their intention and reflect and provide insights. And in this particular step, you're probably going to find that there might be some back and forth, right? At first, Dan might get a little defensive because I put him on the spot. And I've asked him to own up to, why did you do that? And I have to be prepared for that. And I don't need to own it. I can just sit and allow that to unfold. People will go through and process things quickly. And as they're doing it, they might say things. They might get defensive. They might get angry. Let that go, right? Just get back to the question, what was going on for you? What was the expected outcome that you were hoping to get after, you did those things? Because basically it shut me down. Is that what you intended, right? That's really a powerful question. And it can normally, in almost all cases, lead to a collaborative discussion on how do we deal with situations like that in the future, when I state something that is an idea and you don't agree with that idea. How can we handle it in the future so we can keep collaboration and cohesion at the center of our discussions, but also give you space for basically voicing your concerns or worries or frustrations? So from there, we can move into hopefully that solution discussion. And then step 5 is making sure that when I notice Dan do that in the next meeting, I point it out. I follow up. I let them know, hey, I noticed you were frustrated, but you explained why, and you gave ideas, other ideas for us to consider. And it was really very helpful. And I felt like it was a great opportunity for us to collaborate and come up with a better decision together. So you always want to follow up, right? Maybe you schedule a meeting to follow up and say, let's talk about this again, because you need to continue to build that trust. Or I just make sure I follow up when I notice that Dan actually took that feedback and changed his behavior the next time. Now, you can also use this to deliver positive feedback, to give someone recognition, right? I state the facts, I state the impacts, I ask, how do you feel about it, right? How was that your intention? And then just state that this was exactly what we needed to keep this relationship strong, to help our customer, whatever the outcome was. So that is very, very important in terms of delivering feedback. So having a process is super important for delivering feedback. And I know that process works because I've taught it to hundreds and hundreds of leaders. I'd love to hear if you give it a try and how it went for you. Just email us at info@powersresourcecenter.com or even Tara at powersresourcecenter.com. All right, before I finish this video today on feedback, I also want to include this checklist. And this really has to do with your mindset. So if we are truly coming from that place of a win-win mentality and that we are collaborators in helping each other grow, which I absolutely believe, if we are team members, it's part of our responsibility to give and be willing to receive feedback. Here are some things I want you to sit with and really think about in terms of your willingness and readiness to give feedback, and figure out what are some things you might need to work on. So this is an amazing checklist from Brene Brown. I'm going to go through these really quickly, but I know that I'm ready to give feedback when I'm ready to sit next to you rather than across from you. That's a very different energy, right? We're collaborators. We're next to each other. Now, I know obviously in a remote setting, we can't really do this, but it's the energy behind this statement. Second, I'm willing to put the problem in front of us rather than between us, or basically plunking it on your lap and making it all your fault, right? How is this something we can actually manage and work together on? I'm ready to listen, ask questions, and accept that I may not fully understand what was going on for you or what was the issue. I'm ready to acknowledge what you do well instead of just constantly picking apart your mistakes. I recognize your strengths and how you can use them to address your challenges. So how can I bring some of that into the conversation, the feedback conversation about someone's strengths? I can hold you accountable without shaming or blaming, right? And that has to do with stating the facts, stating the impact, and moving into that solution discussion. I am open and willing to own my part. Huge piece here. I can genuinely thank you for your efforts rather than criticize you for all your failings. I can talk about how resolving these challenges will lead to growth and opportunity, most likely for both of us. And then lastly, I can model vulnerability by being willing to give feedback and receive it, and that openness that I would expect to see from you. So sit with those questions for a little bit. You'll be able to download them right here from my newsletter. And I want you to just really think about, what do you need to work on to deliver better feedback? Because this truly is the glue that holds a team together. And it is so important, even now, more so because we're remote, that we are building feedback cultures, right? That we are getting as comfortable as we possibly can, delivering constructive feedback to each other in a way that builds cohesion, collaboration, and trust. I hope that these 2 tools were helpful for you. Definitely love it when you reach out and let me know. So some of you have been sending me emails that you're doing this with your team, you're working on it together, you're trying it out and getting great results. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I hope that you all have a connected week. Take care.